My next guest I met through other guests of the BeautyPro podcast, and I'm so honored and happy to be able to share her with you, share her story with the entire world, and it is Agnes Velner. Agnes is one of the strongest women I have ever encountered when it comes to the physical, emotional, and mental aspects of being a woman and chasing your dreams. You want to talk about making dreams coming true? Listen and learn and watch this week's episode of the Beauty Pro podcast, and you decide. Are you a beauty or barber pro looking for that push to do that thing you've always wanted to do, whether it's in or out of the salon, spa, or shop? Are you tired of not feeling good enough, smart enough, skilled enough? Are you tired of not getting a handle on your mental health, boundaries, and insecurities? I'm Krystine Sherwood, the Beauty Pro Coach, an internationally certified coach, a salon and spa owner, and your personal Jiminy Cricket. I use my own experiences, good and bad, as a salon owner to help you be more self-aware, authentic, and forward-thinking in your approach to life, in and out of the salon. It's time to reach your version of success with the Beauty Pro Coach podcast.
This is my first.
Hello, this is Krystine Sherwood, the Beauty Pro Coach, and I am so excited for our next guest, Miss Agnes Velner. Welcome, my dear.
Hi, Krystine. Hi. Happy
Hi.
Monday.
So I'm really excited because this is your first podcast interview ever, right?
It is truly like my first one. So I'm super excited, a little nervous, but
It's okay. We're
I
going to
trust
have
you.
fun. We're going to have girl talk.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So tell everybody who's listening or watching on YouTube, tell them who you are.
Who am I? So that's a good question. Uh, it's like kind of like a cliche. So I'm a European girl living her dream in the United States, technically. So I'm originally coming from a small country in the middle, literally the heart of Europe, Hungary. A lot of people actually knows about it. Uh, I came to the US 12 years ago, technically following my heart after my husband, when that was like a big fade of loop, like just literally I left my life there. So I give myself a chance to be happy or like be with the person I really wished for myself. Like, like I kind of knew that like he's my other half. So even it was like a pretty much like a short time of like deciding for me like what am I gonna do next when life gave us actually the opportunity to meet again because we met like 20 years ago and that was not the right time for us. So I was married before, he was in a relationship, so it was just kind of like that wasn't on the table at all. And well, obviously things happened, and I let my marriage go because I realized when I was 25 years old I tried to fit my life into a life. It did not make me happy, and i I got like a wake up call, and I was like, you know what, I'm way too young for just like live my life miserable. So I let that go,
Mhm.
and I left a lot of things, and I was just like, I kind of had the feeling like, you know what, I want to be happy in my life. Then thankfully a couple of years later, like life made it happen. Like we kept running into each other because he was already living in the United States, and I'm like, I tried to find him like on social media or like through my best friend. But it was funny because he's the kind of weirdo, he doesn't have social media. And so when we kept like just running into each other, and I tried, when I really kind of tried to reach out to him, it was like, I'm like, how am I going to do that? And I tried some, little here and there through my friends. and not much like I could get a hold with him. And my daughter loves the story of that because I told her technically he was my Christmas gift. So my clientele kept asking. I mean, back in Europe, like I've been in this industry for 25 years, 26,
Okay.
believe it or not.
Okay. So you were a
And
hairstylist still and when you were in Hungary and then
yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay, okay.
And people have a hard time to believe when they look at me, but it is, yes. I'm a licensed hairstylist since 2002.
Wow.
And and when my client, they were pretty much like long-term clients because
Yeah.
the way how I technically work and you build up a relationship. So my clients are much more than for me, just people who come in and out in my chair. So it's a relationship. So we share a lot. And they kept asking me like, what do I want for Christmas? And I said like, finally the right man for myself. And I believe in manifestation. It's
Mm,
something out there.
mhm.
And I kind of was done with dating and I did not want to babysit anymore or like have like it's just a whole world out
It's a
there.
whole thing, girl. I
Yeah.
know. I know.
And I was like, you know what? Yes, that's what I want for myself. And believe it or not, 2 days before Christmas, he arrived and I ran into him and I was not expecting at all. So obviously, like that was the time, and I was like, he kind of like asked me out finally, and it was very like crazy because back then, like December for us is completely nuts. I actually decided to go back to study television and media back then. Yeah, it's just you never know, maybe a second life.
Yes. This
So
is
I was
cool.
completely slammed with like, the exams, the work and everything. So I was juggling. But when I realized like, this is my chance, then I wasn't really thinking. So obviously I said yes. And he really proved himself. Like he was very serious. And people won't do things like completely like just extend their stay, losing plane tickets and wanted to stay with you if they would, not being serious enough. So after like obviously he stayed home for a while, then he had commitments here, like,
Yeah.
work, everything. So he had to come back. And then what's next? And I was like, you know what? Like going to long distance flying every couple of months, I cannot do that with my clientele. And I was like, you know what? I'm just coming. So I decided I bought a ticket and I told my clients, I love you guys. And they were very happy, but obviously like I just said like, you know what, this is my time to be chance to be happy, so this
Yeah.
is it. So I'm
That
watching.
is so cool.
i I
That
literally
is
lived my life
so
there, like
yeah.
everything. Like I had a good life, like I had a good business, but I just couldn't find the person like who really can make me happy or be my other half, because that's something, it's really rare to find someone who is there for you no matter what.
Yeah. That is so right there is just so inspiring too, because you just you
Look, I
do
made
make
some very serious, bold movements in my life.
yeah.
Not necessarily like when I told my ex-husband, like, I'm sorry, I'm done. I don't think so. This is gonna work because we tried, but it's like he was just not for me.
Uh-huh.
I I left everything there, like pretty much like I walked away almost with nothing, barely like some I was able to get out, but I didn't really care about it because like you only have a chance in your life every once in a while to be happy. And a lot of people decide to live their life in their comfort zone,
Mhm.
in a relationship, in a workplace. And look, I fell into that rabbit hole to choose something which was more secure for me uh than do what I actually want to do, or like have like,
Yeah.
from the bottom of my heart, like, you knew it's not the place for you, it's not the right man for you. But it's just not many people have the courage to do that. And not
Mhm.
necessarily it might be turned out when I blew up my life and I came here in after him, like that was like, I had my visa, I applied for everything, and then I knew that like, look, I had like a standby ticket, let's be honest. I'm not gonna lie, but I kind of just knew. I really just
You
knew
ju
that.
it's just something. It's just like a little something like inside, especially as a woman with your with our intuition, you know, you just do it. You just do it and
Yeah,
you
I
know, and
mean,
it just
those are
happens.
the things like intuition. I'm a Taurus, so that
Okay.
probably does a lot. Um, and somehow my intuitions never fails. And
Mhm.
maybe I don't even know what this exactly means, what I feel, but it never fails. And I
So
just like,
so you took a chance. You totally, like, packed your bags. Did your ex-husband was just like, "Okay, bye."
well, it's like, I mean, he was like, we kind of like take apart like in good, no harm, no, like nothing. I mean, people kind of like got surprised about like, because I try to keep my private life as possibly private.
Yes.
Even now that you're gonna laugh, but I got a lot of question messages about like, am I a single mom? And I'm like, I'm not. I know, but I keep my life. And sometimes like when you reach probably like a certain age and you go through things, like you realize, like I had a relationship between my ex-husband and my current one,
Mhm.
and it was kind of like try to keep like private things as possible, like not to, it's not necessary you gotta have to show the world like, or like put everything out on social media. And I
So
kind of
true.
like really did not understand the reason why. Then I quickly realized like actually the less people knows about your life, the more peace you have, because not everyone is
Mhm.
genuinely happy for you, for your succeed, for your relationship, for or anything. And that's an awful truth. And I live my life like that. I obviously put like stories about my daughter, but
Yeah.
very rare, sometimes here and there, and that's good. And I don't really share anything on my private social media as much as well. And I did like at the very beginning, especially after I moved here, I had my daughter. That was another very interesting story. Actually, that was another confirmation, because after I landed, uh, after 3 weeks, I got pregnant,
Aw, we're
and
so
that was kind
happy.
of like, yeah, and that was actually a miracle.
Really? Okay, I wanna get to that, but
So I mean, obviously, I was not prepared for that. We were not like, obviously, we wanted to get to the point, but not like, obviously, when I come here, and it was just like, wow. But there was no question about it. So,
so you leave your home, you basically follow your heart and you go to this whole other country, and
like,
now you are
not knowing
living.
like technically anything.
Yeah. Did you speak English at that time or no?
But I learned British English back in
Right.
Europe. So, but technically, when I came here to the United States, I didn't understand a
You
thing.
didn't know.
It was like,
Oh my
because
god.
it's a huge difference between like, I mean, I was here and I called my friend. I have a friend in Europe who is actually like a teacher, and I called my friend and I told her, like, because she teaches like American English and Spanish, or like she translate books now. Like, I don't think so. She has like student anymore. And
Cool.
I called her desperately. I'm like, Kate, I'm so stupid. I don't understand anything. And she's like, just don't worry about it. You're gonna get used to it. Obviously, like what they teach you in school, that's not gonna take you anywhere in life. So I was lucky enough to actually get into like in the cycle, like in the circle of people, then it helps you to get where you wants to be, because
Mhm.
a lot of people have, technically they stuck, and they don't get to learn or don't want to learn the language, and language barrier, everything else is just like, then what are you doing here?
Mhm.
And believe it or not, like it's just like, I'm not saying like, I mean, obviously people choose to go to school. My husband is like, besides like he was working, went to school to the Santa Monica College to learn like English classes. So if you want to go and you're gonna go follow your dreams or build a life, you gotta have to do things about it. So it's not like things are gonna fall in your lap when you are at home and just like dreaming about
I
it.
love that because I'm currently trying to practice my Spanish. So thank you for kicking my butt into doing that. That's great.
Well, it's for me, it was very, I was lucky enough, because after like we find out like I got pregnant with my daughter, first of all, I had to start like when choosing to come here, that meant like my life was over. So regardless who you are at your in your country, when you come here, you're nobody. So my papers were not recognized. Like I can literally like nothing. So my only luck was because the way I got my education back in Europe, going to the beauty school, it was 4 years. It's like a college education. So I
Oh.
have way higher education. My hours are like double as much as whenever they requires in the United States. So I kind of knew that like it's gonna be a hard, a really really tough things to go through, because as far as I knew, anyone who tried to do the same, they send them back to school. There was no way for them to be able to pull this through. My luck was like they I had to do like international evaluation through the boards, everything, like especially in California, like it took forever. But they gave me the chance actually, which meant like I still had to go and do the state test and take some it's a 4 weeks course. But apparently when I find out like I was I pregnant with my daughter, like I kind of like pause things a little bit. I was like, you know what? I started the process, but I'm like, it's not like urgent because she was the priority. And shortly after I got an opportunity, I took an assistant job in a little private school because that was something for me, like,
Yeah.
you know, it, technically like the
Yeah.
best it can happen with you. So I'm like, you know what, this is something like I still have a job and I can, get ready for things.
Mhm.
So it really like worked out because like here in the United States, it's like once you have a kid, like there's like the child care, everything. It's just like I have no one here, no family, no one who can support me besides my husband.
Mhm.
So that worked out like actually pretty good. So it helped me, and I knew that like she's gonna be my priority because obviously like that's what I that was for me. Like I was nearly 30 years old, and then I'm like, she's gonna be my main priority, and my career will comes after that. I knew that once she's gonna get a little older, then I'm gonna focus on that, start the process again, and then technically this is how I roll with it. And I was just like, kind of like
See?
grateful I got that.
You see, you are proof that you can have an amazing family life, you can fulfill your dreams, and you can do hair, you can do what you love to do, like, you are proof
Yeah,
of that.
you can.
So,
Like,
people can totally just look to you and say, "If Agnes can do it, I can do it too," because I feel like they go one way or the other, and they don't do it all.
well, yeah, like if you really wanted to do that. And so the funny things, because finding myself, like finding like a good hairstylist, it's hard. So I find a great hairstylist because back then I cut my hair short again, and find someone who can cut short hair. And I find actually a lady who did an amazing job. And since the minute like I went there, obviously we had a conversation, and she was like, "Come and work in my salon. Please come and work in my salon." I'm like, "I think about it. I think about it. Come just work on the weekends." I'm like, my daughter was little, so I said like until she's that age, I try. Even I went back to work. She was about 3 months old, so I was going back to work part time. Look, I had no choice. We needed the money. I'm not gonna sugarcoat. Like I I wasn't born with the silver spoon in my mouth. I came to the United States, like obviously, like it's not like you bring like $1 million with you or anything like that. No, so you gotta have to work hard. So as an immigrant, I think we have to work even more to prove ourselves. And I was like, you know what? That's it. And my husband actually, after my daughter was born, my husband got laid off. So
Oh.
the company closed their offices here. He worked in the medical field. I mean, he still does, but back then they offered us like a place in Ohio in the middle of the nowhere. And I'm like, hell no. So my husband decided yeah, I was home with a baby technically for by myself because my husband took a job and he was gone a lot, like technically, like all the time. San Francisco, Sacramento. So he was gone for a week or 2 weeks, 10 days, came home for a couple of days. So I was technically by myself with the baby. You just gotta have to work it out. Like if you want to, I'm not saying it's easy, it's heartbreaking because like kind of like have him to be away. I had like he was missing kind of like a lot, but do you have a choice? You don't.
Mm-mm.
You really don't. So
You
it is
sink
what
or
it is.
swim. You sink or swim.
But technically you do.
Yeah.
And like having like, like everything, and I'm like, you know what, you just gotta have to make it work, and like and then things, and technically we got lucky when he actually got hired uh, with this current job. He still does. So he was back home, but well, I mean, we had like a almost like, I don't even know, like almost a year to go through like that.
Yeah.
And
Okay. So now this is the whole backstory. This is your whole backstory so
not
that
my
you can say tell everybody what amazing stuff just happened to you in a magazine.
So what happened? Because honestly, it is. I'm like, I still like, is this even real? When I hold the magazine, I have it. Like when they reach out to me, if I will be interested to featured in a magazine, I'm like, is it real? Or like,
Okay, but wait,
yes.
how did they find you? Wait, how did they find you?
So I mean, social media. It's funny because everyone is keep asking me about the backstory of like the braiding, and that was like
Yeah.
something like completely It was no intentional. When my daughter was like about 4, she started doing gymnastic classes, and every Saturday, and
Yeah.
I kind of started just playing around with her hair because obviously I have my own mannequin, right?
Right.
And every Saturday when she had the class, and they're very strict about it, like hair is out of the face, anything.
Mhm.
So every week I knew how to braid like basic things, but obviously like I had no idea what am I doing. And I started doing cute little styles, and like people were like literally obsessed. They couldn't wait for me every weekend, like when she went to class, like what kind of style am I going to do? And back then, Instagram was not like as such a thing as nowadays. I have Instagram since Instagram exists. That's
Yes.
like, but not the business one. And my friends, I have a very sweet girlfriend back in LA, and she was keep pushing me like, you gotta have to put yourself out there. They are in like in the field, like, and she was like, you're gonna have to start posting your work out there. And I'm like, no, I'm like, fine. So they pushed me to the point, like I created my first account where I started putting the braids. And obviously, like people started like slowly following me. I started following people and see people does the same what I do, and like learning, inspiring from other people. And I kind of got myself in down in the rabbit hole, like I want to learn more about braids, like the techniques. So technically I self-taught myself. And the funny like the funny story, when I say like I can do braids, or people look at me and they look at me as a white chick can braids, like this,
Yes. Oh my
and like,
gosh,
oh, you
that's
can
so
do
true.
braids, and like, let me see your work, and I show them my work. Oh, you can braids. Obviously, like
Yes.
very beginning, it wasn't like as neat as like as the perfectionism, like it comes through by years. And I did not even believe people actually want to pay for that. And people came to me asking me about like they wanted to get their hair done, like the braiding, the upstyling. And I was like, okay, so people actually wants to. And that was back then when I actually followed Lala. That was
Oh, yes.
6, 7 years ago, because she did like a lot of the braiding, the upstyling with the braids.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
she was for me like, oh my God, she is like a queen, like she is like an idol. And I followed him. And the good thing, like she's like, regardless, like she is like an absolute like icon out there, like
Mhm.
she is still so humble, and she sees you. She
Yeah.
saw me. She had like hundreds of thousand followers, and she commented, reposted what I did, and I was like, oh my God. So I'm like done in heaven. and
Yeah.
and she was actually the one who really made a big impact on my career, like to see me or offer me like an opportunity, which I took. And I had no idea what am I doing, but I took it.
Mhm.
And that led me to completely a whole different spot in the industry, or like just have my name out there. Like social media is a big impact if you
Mhm.
use it smart. And technically that helped me, and that's how they find me, like through social media, because I got featured back then. Estetica magazine, like all those big
Yeah.
pages featured my work.
Yeah.
And when they reach out to me, and I was like, these two of the work which get published in the magazine, I created them for the one shot hair awards. That was something for me for during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I was still in my kind of like playing around era after I
Okay.
moved here to Florida. There was another start your a new start again.
Yes.
And then I was like, that's when I started like just like get myself and into that, like seeing like, okay, there is actually more to do about that. It's like the competition. And I was like, we were home. I played around, like did
Mhm.
the hurricane hairstyles because we killed the time. I got my daughter to sit down in my chair, or friend, and I had a got to enter my work. I was like, I don't know. I was just like, why not? And the first time and then I entered my work, it got into the top 50 in the breeding category. And that was like something like it set the bar very high to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
100%.
good and bad, like in bad in a way, because I'm like the type of person, like I have like high expectation.
Mm.
I'm a stupid perfectionist.
Y
So you
You're not
cannot do less.
stupid, but you're definitely a perfectionist, and that's okay.
I'm like, you cannot do less from then. And
Mhm.
honestly, there are a lot of things like with the breeding and how things like breeding was something for me, helped me through a really dark time. I got sick right after I moved here, really sick.
Mhm.
And I had no idea how am I gonna make it through, like actually to keep like chasing my dream and do something which I have a true passion, and getting like more and more doors and opportunities to open up. But this is something which has really hit me. And right after I moved here, which had like obviously like a preview, dealing with my husband, nearly losing him, not knowing what's gonna happen. Yes. So
So he got sick too?
yeah, in LA when my daughter was like little, we find out he unfortunately inherited something which is a life threatening with no cure. The only thing we knew, we lost his brother very young,
Mhm.
age 40. And when they find out, like he only had a few months left. So I had that unfortunately coming in my life too,
Mhm.
when we kind of knew something is wrong. And when they find out here, when I got the phone call, uh, one of the Christmas, then I think it was in the 2019. And it's just like someone is like literally like, like it shook you the way, like like I don't even know what to do. So and when you go to your first doctor appointment, and what they told they you what they actually told us to go home, enjoy the time
Mhm.
until you can, that was like something like uh first of all, I cannot accept that because there's always something to do. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, uh it was a deep hole to come back. He had to go through a lot of things. um and
Was this, if you don't mind, was this like a cancer?
he had cancer
Okay.
even last year.
Oy, oy, oy. Okay.
So there is a lot of things behind here in my personal life. People have no idea what am I dealing with,
Mhm.
and because what I had to go through with my husband back then. And I'm so grateful because like life put me in places uh, where actually we got so much support. I could never in a year or in
Yeah.
a ever thought about it. Like people, it's gonna stand up for you the way how they did. And I'm talking about Krystine. Like when we find out everything with him, and they tell you like there's not much you can do. He had like a surgery coming ahead, not knowing like they couldn't promise anything. And the school where my daughter was, it was a private school in Santa Monica, and they kind of when they find out like something is not okay, they
Yeah.
offered help. And I couldn't accept the fact because people wants to help me, because I'm like, people wants to help me
Mhm.
in my country, that's not really like a common thing.
Right. Right.
And they did really wanted to help us. And honestly, like everything comes with a huge financial debt.
Mm.
And that school actually put together for $10,000 for us to pay
Wow,
off medical bills.
that's
So
chills.
they told me just that the main focus he needs to get through and better, and they gonna help me. They wanted to cook for us. Like it was something we had to be like in that school. And the reason why my husband is still alive because of those people too,
Mhm.
because they helped me to find the best doctors to get him in as soon as it possible. And just like technically, like I went through like everything, like as much as I can help him. The worst part was with like going through the whole thing, he couldn't believe it, like he can actually live through, because unfortunately what happened with his brother,
Mm.
uh that was like for me, like the fact like he didn't see that like he actually can have a life. And I try to help him, but it's heavy, it's hard to deal with something like that. So that took like a huge like a part of my me being sick here, because the years like which I carried and tried to hold my family together, and I couldn't lose it, because if I lose myself,
Right.
like I have a small kid, I worked full time, I had a sick husband. But literally, like I just, when finally things, I said, like, first of all, it nearly cost my marriage, to the point when I felt like, I don't know, I'm hopeless, because I'm not even sure like how things are gonna work out, because I just didn't see that like what's gonna happen, like if he can get through, and not like necessary health wise, like mentally, because it's hard.
Mhm.
Not everyone, like tell if you would tell me something the same, I'm like, I'm a Taurus, I'm gonna go against anything, every as I
Yeah.
did.
Right.
But I was like, you know what, if things have to like work out the way, and if we need to get through together, then I'm gonna get like a sign.
Yeah.
And sure I did.
Oh, what was it?
So it's funny, like I when you speak out to the universe, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend here in Florida, and I told her like she always comes and visit, and I said like it's ridiculous, I wasn't able to make it to come and visit you ever. So this year for my birthday, I don't care what's gonna happen, I'm gonna celebrate my birthday here in Florida. Sure I did. So my husband came home the same day and told me like he got the opportunity for the transfer. What do I think about it? And I swear to you, I kind of knew that that was my answer,
Mhm.
because I don't think so. He was truly happy, not like with us, like the life, like everything. People think like LA is like, oh my God, it's like, it's a dream. It's not.
It's not. It's
It's the
expensive.
cost of the living is insane. Like it's very hard.
Yeah.
And I told him like, go for it. And believe it or not, the minute he put his transfer request, like I got my husband's back.
Oh,
He was like no sickness anymore. I got him back, like he was smiling. He was like obviously like kind of like depressed, the part of like,
yeah.
dealing with something like that and not knowing. And I gotta have I had accepted the fact as
Mhm.
well, because this is something is hard. Like I don't know how much time do we have still
Mhm.
nowadays, because anything can, any day, anytime.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to not to live my life around that anymore, to wondering like what's gonna happen, because it will.
Mhm.
It's not upon us. Like we can do a lot, but it's not. And these things, like accepting the fact like you can change, because you can't, unfortunately. And having him, I was like, okay, finally. And obviously we moved here, like we had like a month to deal with, bless you, baby, everything. So there was another like, okay, blow up your life and just come. And I knew that like I'm the one who's gonna sacrifice, because I had to sacrifice. I started like building a clientele there, like everything. But I said like, you know what, you can do that
Mhm.
anywhere. And
Mhm.
honestly, I knew that this is gonna be for him the best. And we moved him, and then finally I felt myself like I can breathe.
Yeah.
And shortly after, like no, I wasn't able to breathe like how I thought, because
Yeah.
all the stress, actually, it's gonna come out somewhere. And when people tells you like, don't forget to take care of yourself,
Mhm.
yeah, you should not forget
Yeah.
to take care of
Okay,
yourself.
so this is going on with your husband, but then you mentioned that you also got sick.
That was right after that, like when technically I got rheumatoid arthritis, a very bad form.
Oh my goodness. And you're braiding and you're still doing your thing, but now
Oh yes, I did. I did. Give me a second, my hedge got. Say sorry for sneeze. Oh, that's okay. It's fine. She just wanted to say sorry to interrupt me when she sneezed. That's fine. Yeah, like right after that, like, and I started building up my life here. Like, I rented a studio, and I'm like, because I went through the same options. Like, you go for salons and interviews, and like either the pay is ridiculous, or second of all, like I'm like I cannot do like schedules because I have her.
Mhm.
So anyway, I decided to open my own place, and I'm like, just have like, okay, I know it's gonna take time, but you can do it. But I wasn't expecting that part
Yeah.
because I started having issues with my knee, like serious issues, and I pushed like to the point when I was not able to even like the inflammation was really bad and the pain, and it took me a lot and a while to actually accept the fact like I think I gotta have to get that checked. So I did get that checked, but surprisingly, I mean, even like the whole situation, they were like, this is really bad. No one really actually looked behind what can cause it.
Mhm.
And like I tried to reduce work, tried to make things working out. Obviously, like I started like going downhill with my head, started feeling like really not good.
Mhm.
And but I thought like I have a lack of vitamin or something like that, it's
Right.
whatever. So but when I went to my yearly physical with my primary doctor, and I already like dealt with my knee for almost 6 months, and I was mentioning to him like things like I'm really not feeling myself, like I'm like the tiredness, the fatigue, like I literally feel myself like dead, like I have I don't even know what's going on,
Mhm.
probably vitamin issues. And I told him like, by the way, if you can recommend me an orthopedic surgeon would be great, because the one I wasn't happy, so I kind of decided to not to see him anymore. And he said like, well, what's going on? So I gave him everything, but I already had the paper, and he was not like, he kind of knew like something is going on more serious. Unfortunately, he didn't even say a thing. So he sent my lab, as you usually go,
Mhm.
and I was like, there's no problem, when I get
Right.
my lab. And I got my lab results like a week later, opened that email, and it was like a Christmas tree. So I was like, I don't know what does that mean, but it's probably not too good. I don't know. And obviously, like the next day, I got the call from the doctor office. So they told me like all of my papers at the specialist, because I looks like I have lupus. And I'm like, I
Mm.
don't know as much about that. I mean, they are very similar, unfortunately. A lot of
Okay.
similarity. I don't know about that, but that doesn't really seem like, good to me. So
Yeah.
I saw the first one. I kind of felt like that's not my doctor, but what can I do? Because I don't know where to go. I had thankfully no medical record, no problem. So anyway, like I had to make a decision, like kind of like a heartbreaking, because it started taking a toll on my body. Like I closed my studio at Christmas.
Mm.
I said, because I realized like I gotta have to take care of me,
Mhm.
because I'm trying to push things, but it's not working out. And
Mhm.
thankfully I did, because after it hit me really bad. And this is something like I don't wish that for my enemies.
No way.
So the pain people, because people look at me and it's hard to believe.
Mhm.
And I'm glad like nowadays, but this is like that was like 2 years of struggle to get there, actually more than that, to be able to feel myself alive again,
Yeah.
because the treatment, so my options were not too good, because I had a very high inflammation markers, and I was technically handicapped.
Mhm.
Some part of it, like my husband had to help me to dress up, because the pain, like I couldn't take the pain. They had, the solution is for them is like steroids and all kind of like,
Yeah.
heavy drugs for you to kind of like go through like steroids, everything to pass these like bad flares. And by the time when I actually like 2 months later, I find my still current rheumatologist, who was funny and looked at me and he said, like, you are way too young for this shit. And I'm like, tell me about it.
You're like, I know, I'm living
And
it. Thanks.
so the first time, like when they had to treat me, they give me like chemotherapy drugs because so there are like people whose symptoms are not severe.
Uh-huh.
They can treat them with medication, which helps to control the inflammation, and people like me who's really not that fortunate. And so they give me that, which technically got me really sick and actually didn't really help me at the first place. So my new doctor tried to find other way for me and didn't really work out.
Mhm.
And then here comes the pandemic.
Oy, oy, oy. Oh
So
my goodness, all of this stuff is happening all at the same time. Oh my goodness. Okay. So the
yeah, so
pandemic
it was
happens.
like like someone like got me a ticket on the roller coaster. You want it or not, not, and they just push you. And so honestly, I wasn't like when the pandemic happened. I'm like, you know what? At least I don't have to worry about things like people needs to worry about it.
Mhm.
But I'm not the person who really can sit still.
No
And
way. I couldn't tell. I could not tell
I got actually like
at all.
a salon reached out to me during the pandemic, shortly after we got like shut it down. Like if I would be interested to work because I put like a bunch of resume when I moved here and
Yeah.
all kind of things, like Indeed and all kind of stuff. And I'm like, I look at the email and the first place I was like, huh. And I'm like, I wasn't even sure, like, are they serious or not? Like,
Right.
it's the pandemic. But anyway, and I told my husband, and he was like, "Are you sure about this?" I'm like, "I'm not. Honestly, I'm not." But I went to the interview. They wanted me to start to work, and I was like, "You know what? Let's see." I'm
Mhm.
not saying I was not like good enough to go to work, but like it's gonna get me out of the house,
Mhm.
whatever.
Mhm.
And I really just did like 1 day a week or something like that,
Right.
and struggled through, like tried to find the treatment, which nothing really seemed to work out. Like they were tried many other things, and I find myself back in the place when my options were like not much. So they had to put me back on the chemotherapy drug, and except like they give me like injections, which I did to myself. So I had to learn how to do that because I save myself 2 trips a week. So anyway, they put me on steroids, like all kind of medications. So I was actually kind of like able to function a little better as a human being.
Yeah.
And that I was like honestly like not sure about, like I knew that like this is gonna be a temporary situation for myself, even being in that salon, because unfortunately I did not really had the problem with the fact of working in a salon. Besides, like I always worked for myself in most of my life, though we had a run that business, so there was it was just not the place,
Mhm.
unfortunately. And but I built up so fast my clientele, even just picking up a couple of more days, it's hard. Like after you like, okay, I have clients and things like that. And I had a couple of like things I knew that like I had to break through, and I had opportunities because after I moved here, and actually we find out like with Lala we live pretty close to each other, and when she actually asked me to assist her one of her class, which was like over 100 people, which was like I totally chickened. I'm laughing, but back then it was like, oh my god, when she called me out on stage, like, where is my assistant? I froze, I couldn't even move. It was so funny. Like I'm like, it's just, it's
I
like
know.
because you
Lala
find
has
out.
that effect on people.
And but anyway, like I cannot be like thankful enough for her to give me that opportunity, which like actually like really like helped me to, it made a big impact on my career with the bridal industry. I
Mhm.
learned a lot from her, like really, like she is just an amazing person, a teacher, like a friend.
Mhm.
So even nowadays if I feel like I need, it depends, like a guidance or like advice from anything, like she's helping me. And
Well,
honestly, I was
because of Lala, we got introduced.
exactly.
And, like, she's Amazing. I love
It
her.
is.
We
So
love
it's
you, Lala.
yes, and that's like, struggling with my health and having all these opportunities, doors opening for me in this
Yeah,
industry. It was just like, I'm like, how can I not like fight like
yeah.
through this? And my doctor was really not supporting the idea because I was not in a good place health
Mhm,
wise at
mhm,
all.
mhm.
And when they put me back on the heavy treatment that helped me, obviously, like to kind of like, live a better life, still wasn't enough. I mean, obviously, my hair went downhill, and a lot of people just like, what made me to cut my hair? I'm like, do you want the sugarcoat version or the real story? I mean, it's like, I mean, obviously, I lost like a
Yeah,
lot of my hair. Like my hair
yeah,
was broken
it was
off.
gone.
Like, I get to the point like when it was like so bad, I started like cutting it, like and trying to have different shapes so it's not as obvious, but it was. And my
Mm.
husband was telling me like, just cut it off. And I'm like, even as a hairstylist, it was
It
a hard thing
hurts.
to swallow because you know
Yeah.
what, like that the fact,
Yeah.
but the difference between I want to lose my mind and want to chop my hair as I did that before, or I have to when you are taking a shower or washing your hair and like chunk is coming out, like it was heavy. It was
Mm,
really hard to see that. And
mm,
I got it off and I'm like, you know what? After that, I decided, just like I asked my doctor, do you think like my rest of my hair is going to fall out if I start like actually playing with around? And he said, like,
mhm.
you're a hairstylist. So obviously, you know what you're doing. And that's when I started like, having a little more fun, putting some colors in it.
Yes.
And I'm like,
Okay.
why not? Obviously. And the silver lining of the story, actually, this is who I am,
Yeah.
and it helped me to just kind of push me to find myself, like this is
Yes.
like I had all kind of hairstyles and long hair and all these things, but
I can't see you with long hair.
oh my god, I
I
gotta
don't
have to
know.
take that picture. But it's, and believe it or not, like when like going through these things, and I actually like when Lala asked me like if I want to go with her to the shows, like obviously being on the main stage by her side, that's like holy shit.
Yeah.
But I'm struggling. I
Mhm.
mean, obviously, she knew that. Not many
Right.
people knew that, neither my clientele.
Right.
And one of my client, so I had to go through all of that and get to the point when they checked the box. They couldn't give me anything, and finally, I was able to get biological treatment, which gave my life back.
Oh.
So I'm still taking it, and honestly, like they put you through hell to get that
Mhm.
because it's very expensive.
Yeah.
And I got the first 2 weeks. Actually, the first, yeah, because I'm getting it every week. First dose is, it's like I felt myself alive, and I truly mean
Oh,
being alive, Christine. Like not
yeah.
too trapped in like I'm a prisoner of my own body,
Mhm.
like for real. And this is really hard to deal with. Something like one day I might like wake up like I cannot even like step on my foot, or like I cannot barely lift my shoulders, or things like that. It's no fun.
No.
And I felt myself like finally alive. And I told my husband, like, oh my God, like I feel the difference. And he was like, I can tell looking at you, you look better, you feel better. And one of my clients who's like pretty regular, and knowing that like no one had any idea really about these things. I
Right.
went to work, and I'm like the person, like I go to work, I leave my stuff outside of the door. That's it. That
Totally.
makes you as a professional. And I
Totally.
never complained. I never said anything. And
Mm.
one of my clients, when I checked her out, like she came closer to me and she was telling me, I don't know what has changed the last time I saw you, but I'm so glad to see you look better. That,
Oh, man.
and that hit me like I was like, oh my God. So regardless, I wasn't transparent anything with about anything. I said like, and that like, and I'm like, probably they might deserve to know things, not necessary. But I was like, you know what? It is what it is. I'm glad, and I kind of like find like felt myself, and I'm still like because of that, like I felt myself like way better than I was,
Mhm.
and everything like kind of like rolled like every year I entered into the one shot,
You
uh,
see?
and I got like this is the for fourth. Actually, yeah, I have 4 nomination already with the one shot in the breeding category, which is huge.
That is
And
huge.
it's still like, obviously it sets the bar very high. So I'm still not done yet because I said like
Yeah.
I won't stop until I'm gonna bring that award home.
Yeah,
That's it.
no. No, no,
That's
no. If for anybody listening or watching, if you are not following Agnes, you need to go follow her on Instagram right now. You need to go vote for her in the One Shot Awards
well,
because
I gotta have to
this
get there
girl.
first. So
Well, you're gonna. God willing, you're gonna. You're already there. You're already published in magazines. We just need to boost you.
well,
You know,
and that's
fast
the
track
thing is
you.
like when people like see you like from all those thousands of entries, and this is like it's sometimes it's still like hard to kind of like really like digest away like and accept the fact this is like a big thing. But
Yeah.
also I don't feel like, I mean, this is something for me. It's
Yeah.
like going through everything, and believe it or not, after I thought like I'm done with shit in my life,
Mhm.
then I got a huge slap, and it put me out of work again, not once. I mean, I after that, when I finally got stabilized, like unfortunately my shoulder was at the point like I couldn't get any more steroids. That was it. Like, so surgery options are surgery. I'm like, hell no.
No.
And I ran against the doctors. I said like that's gonna be the last thing in my mind. Anyway, so I did researches. I find like a PRP could be an option, but
Mhm.
not for me because
Oh,
of my medical
cool.
condition.
Sure.
So they sent me away. They knocked me out on the door. They say like, no, that's not an option for me. So I climbed back on the window and I told my doctor, uh, because you're gonna have to pay out of pocket. It's not cheap. I mean, obviously that was one of the only chance for me to maybe to get something like I don't need to
Mhm.
do surgery. So I talked my doctor into it. I told him, I gave him a scenario. He couldn't resist. He said like, well, we're gonna schedule your procedure. So I kind of prepped myself for that. Like I knew that like I took some time off from work, like about a month. I went to get the PRP done on Monday morning, and I was on the plane back to Europe on Wednesday to take time off, rest, give
Mhm.
myself the chance to actually get that thing working for me.
Right.
And believe it or not, like my shoulder has never been better ever. It fixed my
Wow.
shoulder. Yeah, it fixed my shoulder like it's brand new. I had rotator cuff tear. I had like the inflammation, like did like damages. It fixed, thankfully, my shoulder. So I'm so grateful. Like obviously,
I'm
it's no guarantee.
I'm
No
so
guarantee.
I'm just so in awe. Like, I didn't get to ask too many questions because I just want people to hear like all of these obstacles that you went through and it hasn't
And
stopped you.
right after, like when you think like you're done, right?
Right.
So I was going with Lava to the shows, and unfortunately, my gallbladder was like really killing me for years now, like not knowing like what can happen, like what was the real issue. I was born with some my gallbladder wasn't functioning. So turned out like
Okay.
because it kept like once in a blue moon, it really got me really sick.
Sure.
And so my doctor was telling me because of everything like the treatment that I'm taking. So I was on the chemotherapy, I was on biologicals and steroids.
Yeah. Whoa.
So the PRP option for me to I put down the steroids. I had faith, like I'm like I gotta have to just make it work. So thankfully since then, no steroids. I'm not seeing like shots here and there sometimes, but
Not.
no steroids.
Sure.
Yes. So that was a big win actually for me, but I was still on two very hard, like very strong immunosuppressive treatment,
Oh, yeah.
and because of that, so biological, it's everything has a bright and a dark side. We know that,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
taking medications, especially, so increase any kind of like the infection in my body. So for me, even cutting my finger, it could be a very bad outcome. Yes, and I did not even believe that until like I really got a little taste of it. When I once I cut my fingers and I got infected, like I got inflamed so badly,
Oh man.
I was like, oh my god, I just cannot believe this is actually I. So the minute that happened, like I started taking more serious. Like, yeah, it
Yeah.
can happen. And my doctor was like, you gotta have to get your gallbladder out because if you get like an inflammation infection, you can die.
Oh
I
Lord.
pushed that. Like I told him, like, look, I have things to do because I had 2 shows with
I'm busy, doctor.
I
Okay.
promised him after I'm done, I'm gonna go and get the surgery done. And this is what happened. Like I was trying to keep like a very strict diet, not to aggravate it, because I'm like,
Yes.
I gotta have to go. So I cannot miss these opportunities,
Yeah.
obviously. So
Yeah.
I actually did the shows and scheduled the surgery for myself. I mean, they scheduled the surgery for me. So and honestly, I was so fed up. Like I hated to be working the salon, and I knew that like I wanted to get out of there for a long time because all of these I was not stable health wise. I just did not dare to make that move because I'm like, what if it's gonna happen again? So
Mhm.
that was my fear. Unfortunately, was bigger than the fact to believe in myself. I can make it work,
Yeah.
and I was like, I knew that, like, especially when I find out, like, I really gonna have to do the surgery. I really, I'm like, I cannot go now. I gotta have to see. I knew that, like, probably after that, I'll take care of that part. So I went for the surgery, and I was already a high risk to go for the surgery. And when I went for my pre-op, they told me, like, probably one night I'll be there because of all
Mhm.
of these things.
Mhm.
I wasn't prepared for that, so I stayed for more. It was a shit show. I'm gonna be honest with you, like a big one. So surgery went well. After getting out from the surgery, I felt like I was not doing well at all.
Mm.
The nurse was not really hearing me, or I don't even know why. They
Mm.
sent me anyway, which they shouldn't. 3 hours later, 911 took me back. So that was no fun. Actually, traumatizing my kids with that too.
Sure. Of course.
The, so unfortunately, ER, they find out like obviously things happen like the high inflammation,
Mhm.
infection. So everyone was freaking out about that. They kept me in the hospital for 4 more days, give me like all kind of like I was not able to be like really like up because I
Mm.
was not really doing well. So I was kind of like glad to be out of the hospital with all of that because not necessarily like the fact like they cut into me because that wasn't really hurting me as
Mm.
much I was expecting. Honestly,
Right.
I was just like really the inflammation, like the infection in my body took me way more hard than that. And I got home, and so the surgery had complication. And unfortunately, yeah. So I when I come home and I'm like, okay, finally, okay, I'm home. I'm in a good place. And I had my first like these kind of like attack, like
Mm.
an awful pain coming out of nowhere. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, this is something like I don't know, whatever. And I called the surgeon, and unfortunately, because they told me like I had like a unfortunately like reaction to anesthesia as well. I'm not doing well with that. I got all kind of things, unfortunately, that
Sure.
you don't really wish. And they like I was on like a blood thinners, all kind of stuff because they were really afraid like I'm gonna get pneumonia. I couldn't be get out of the bed. I got, oh my god, I look like horrible, like, with all the things coming out of my body
Oh.
and like poking.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was home and I'm like, I'm done, I'm done. Yeah, I'm not. So when I thought like I was done, and I called the office and they told me like, look, obviously they want to see me, but like with all the severe like things I got, like it's gonna take me a while. Probably it can take me 3 months to get over with. And I'm like, nice. And the next morning, Monday, 3 a.m., I woke up. I thought, this is it. I'm gonna be dead.
Uh-huh.
Like my body was in shock. Like I woke up with like the shaking, cold sweating. I had a horrible pain in my lower abdomen, my gut, because the anesthesia kind of like paralyzed my bowel. So it
Mm.
gave me
Mhm.
medications.
Mm.
Unfortunately, it didn't work the way I should be, and my body was reacting to that. And I was like screaming on the bathroom floor and
Oh.
literally praying for God. Even I'm not
Yes.
a person who goes to church or like I'm I'm a Christian, but it's not like I'm not like practicing like people
Sure.
goes.
Sure.
But on that Monday morning, I made a deal with God, and I told him, like, if you're gonna have me to get out of it, my husband was like, okay, I'm calling 911 again. So what are we gonna do? I'm like, I am not planning to go back to the hospital. So I said, just have me to get through, and I promise I'm gonna do better to myself. And I realized that quickly made me realize, like, you know what? It's like, fuck the salon. I'm sorry, I'm gonna say that.
You go, baby. This safe
Fuck
space.
this
Go.
shit. I don't know. I had no place to take my clients. I knew that, like, your clients are there for you, not for the salon. We don't own people, but we know the people are for you. And I had no place to take them or anything. I knew that, like, I don't know, I'm out of work, out of commission again. I don't even know how long, because they told me, like, there's no way you are going back to work. My doctor was like 100%, like, you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, so the next day, I told them, like, I'm done. I'm not going back. That's it. My health is my priority. I don't know. I have opportunities. I don't know what am I gonna do with myself, but this is something not what I'm gonna do, because I feel I'm dying in there. And people, a bunch of unprofessional people try to run a business, have no idea. And I'm like, I'm just done. I'm just done.
Mm-hmm.
I packed my stuff, and I brought everything home, and I'm like, it's time for me to take care of me.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, like, try to, like, get through things. I was off from my treatment, so because of the surgery, so my RA quickly approached and started kicking my ass, obviously. So I'm like, okay, when can I get on this back, because I cannot go back where I was.
Yeah.
And after a month, and I'm like, it's nice to be home, right?
Yeah, but you're losing your mind.
I'm like, I can. And I was looking to get a place. I was like, you know what? I don't know how am I gonna make it work, but I am
Sure.
going to find my way. So I
Yeah.
was looking for places, there was no availability. And I actually recalled the place where I went, like, before, like, to check it out, like it could be a possibly option, but they had nothing available. And I just, like, my friend was like, why don't you just, like, give them a call and ask them, like, maybe they are gonna have something available soon or anything like that. Surely enough, I did that. I texted her a call, and she's like, just give me a couple of days and I'm gonna get back to you. And 2 days later, she got back to me, like, in mid-January, we're gonna have, like, a suite available. And I'm like, thank you, God.
Yeah.
That's good. So I was really hoping, like, by 2 months, because that whole shit show happened
Yeah.
right before Thanksgiving, the week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So, like, every Thanksgiving for me, it's like I'm so fucking grateful.
Yeah. 100%. Absolutely.
So it is really, like, for me, it's like, yes. And I'm like, that's gonna be perfect. I put down the deposit, and actually I did got an opportunity, because it was around Christmas time. Like, I had a few clients, I was able to go. Someone shared their chair with me, so, like, only one or two clients who was, like, really important. And I don't know how am I gonna ever, like, like, thank my clients for, like, because my clients went through the holiday season without not getting their hair done, waiting for me. And I'm like, this is something, like, when you build a relationship, or even if they have to call you, I know, like, it's a both way, because, like, they waited for me. And even nowadays, if I call, they know, if I call them, they know it's, like, it's bad, because otherwise I'm there. Because
Right.
mentally, honestly, it helped me to go through, like, dark days. Like, I don't even know, if I look at back, Krystine, like, how the hell I went through my days, like,
Yeah.
taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen so I can be just on my feet, besides, like, everything else. But the actual joy what this industry, or creating arts, like the braids, like, is giving me, there was no option for me to give it up. My doctor was, like, literally yelling at me, and I said, like, watch me, I'm not giving up.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just don't understand yet. I'm like, you won't. Honestly, you
That's
won't.
what this industry does to us. I don't understand it
And
either.
you know
It's
what? Back then, like, being a hairstylist, when I graduated, it was, like, not like, and not everyone is like, not everyone is willing to do, or willing to wants to be more. I did.
Mhm.
I don't know why. When I moved to Florida, and when I had to kind of like, just start all over again, I felt something is waiting for me here. I did
Yeah.
not know what. Like every a lot has waited for me, but it's just like I knew that like somehow like in this like 5 years of being here, I think I did good. Like
Uh,
putting myself, putting
yeah.
myself out there or getting.
Okay. Yes, you did. Let me just confirm that. Yes, you did amazing.
So there were like quite a few obstacles for me to
Yeah.
get where I am now. But all those things like cliche, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
But it's true.
It's true.
Mhm.
And if you really wanted to work things out, like I could have choose many other way, give up,
Mm.
feel pity. Like the reason why I'm not really talking about like the RA part as well, because it's like I don't need people's pity. That's not gonna help me. I realized if you do talk about things, like you can help people.
Mhm.
So it's not like people talk about things because they want your attention. They want you want them to feel pity. I don't. I
Mm-mm.
don't need that.
Right.
No, thank you. But like I really try, I'm very open to holistics, any other like solutions. And I'm super actually I'm proud of myself to wean myself off from all those heavy medications. I'm still taking like biologicals, but it's gonna be a while to get myself off or like have myself on remission. Besides, I'm like working my ass off, but
Yeah.
obviously, like that's actually a big win for me to
Yeah.
do that. And like for me, it's not like I my doctor knows if I call them and if I tell them like, look, I need to see you. He knows like that's bad because
Yeah.
otherwise I'm not. So
See,
there are things in your life, and it's always going to be. And let me tell you, like when I finally got my ducks in a row,
yeah.
and here comes again back my husband comes like because we got a couple of years like he was on remission, things
Mhm.
were good,
Mhm.
and then every year he has to go through like screening and very straight monitoring. So obviously like when we got some results back and I was like, please, you know what, it was just like it sometimes maybe people think I'm crazy, but even for myself, and I went through things like I wasn't even more worried about like the outcome of like the surgery or things like that. I couldn't be on my treatment, which helped me to keep me going, and I was more worried about that part. Or like even with him, like the only thing I wished when I kind of knew that things are not the way I should be, like just please be on time, like just have me. And the good thing is like we are here in the United States, like so obviously when they confirmed, they did not say it out loud, they just
Mhm.
confirmed like there are issues, so he needs to have the surgery ASAP, like
Mhm.
immediately. So, and they try to kind of like not sugarcoat, but try to be positive the way like the
Yeah.
same surgeon actually did his surgery who did mine. And he said, like, look, like inflammation can cause. And I told him, like, look, when his liver was on fire, like there were no cancer markers in that blood work. So I appreciate you try to me get in a more comfortable place, but please be straightforward for me.
Yeah.
So when people were really worried about what they're gonna get on Valentine's Day or when are they going to
You're like, I want my husband.
and I was I was in the hospital like last year as well, and hoping like they're gonna get everything out of him, and this Valentine's Day as well. So, but thankfully we are in good hands. So,
Honey, you are a force. Like, I'm so happy that you shared your story and your ongoing struggles, and, like, you pretty much answered all the questions that I had for you, so I just let you go. But like, I'm excited for people to hear your story and to see it and to resonate with it because you're not the only one. You were
we are
not
not,
alone in this, you know?
and that's the thing. Like, I was actually very excited about like to have my first official like interview podcast
Which
interview with
thank you
you.
for letting me be your first. I really
Oh,
appreciate that.
Because it's the reason why, because of that, because people have no idea, like a lot of us can struggle.
Yeah.
And obviously social media, people like more transparent about their struggle and issues. And honestly, like I support that, because people needs to know that, because we have like obstacles, and not just like in the industry, like in our life, or both.
Mhm.
And you can go through.
It's not all like pretty all the time.
No,
Life
it's not. And
life is ugly.
it is. And like, even like when I see people out there like complaining about, like, I'm sorry, stupid things,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I'm glad this is your biggest problem, because like
Right. Right. Let
they
me
are
sit
way.
you down.
And that's the thing, is like when I have like conversation, like when people are like really complaining about things, and honestly, it's, you don't take anything for granted. You
Mhm.
can't, because life is just not something, like you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring.
Mm.
And but you gotta have to appreciate what you have, and little things, like I appreciate small things, or like, I mean, to have him still in my life. And honestly, I would not be able to do a lot of things if I wouldn't have him as my
Mhm.
100% like support. Because how the hell on the earth would I go away for weekends of to shows or do things like that if
Mhm.
I not have him to support me? And I would never have to worry about it if I leave them home alone. Even the minute I got pregnant, he
Right.
was 100% involved. And there is always like, I cannot be grateful, thankful enough for him. And honestly, I don't even know what would I do with my life without him, because it's just something like we are like pretty much like yin and yang. I mean, we really
Yes,
complete each other, and that's something like
completely.
you really don't find that.
Mhm. And I
Rare.
love it, and I love it because especially in today's society and the world, everybody's like, "I can do it by myself." Mm.
Well, I mean,
Well,
yeah, you
I
can,
mean,
like, but you
yes,
don't
but
need to.
no,
And
you
you know
don't
what?
need
I
to.
need, like, exactly, I need someone, you need a partner.
Somebody.
Like,
Yeah.
you exactly. And I wanted to have, and that's the thing, is like, because the way how I am, I'm a Taurus, and I really had to go through like struggle in my life, or like obstacles, like from the very beginning, if I have
Mhm.
to say that. And but you wanted to, and I'm like, I can do on my own, believe me. I don't need like
Right.
someone to be there just for that. But honestly, like it's good to feel to have somebody, and
Right.
like look it up. And honestly,
Right.
that's like with the nowadays society, and like having like a man like in your life, or like have a partner in your life, it's a
Mhm.
big difference.
Totally.
And even like nowadays, like with like just everyday life, because we still have to work things out, like with my daughter, like I'm working like full 100%, like full force. He does works, but I have a kid as well, and I have no support besides like sometimes here and there, if I can get from friends, or you can get a babysitter. You gotta have to like
Right.
make things work. Like
You make
I
it.
have no parents. We have no one around us
You
who
make it
ever
happen.
help us, and no one was willing to drop like anything, to just, even when he was sick, like i I had to deal with a lot of things by myself, because like you once you have things in your life situation, you're gonna really find like who's are your real friend.
Yes.
and
Exactly.
and I actually got like friends like who actually was there for us, without asking.
Mhm.
Like you don't expect, or you would not, you would expect like somebody else, you think, and they don't flip their pinkies for you,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
they have like a very very nice opinion about to judge you anything you do.
Yep.
And like I always say, like pick up those shoes and walk in it before you're gonna actually like form any kind of like opinion.
Yeah.
How you gonna do things, why you gonna do things, why not, how, like that, like. And I got that a lot in my life. And I mean, you know what, I learned to not to give a shit anymore about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And it's me, I'm more peaceful, because like, you know what, I don't care what people think about me, you know what, or like the way how I choose like to live my life or do
Yeah.
things, or like it's, I'm not like, probably they say like you are lucky. Well, I'm not. lucky if I have opportunities to come in my life, I grab those opportunities. So I make like actually I create my luckiness the way like you
I love that. That was cute.
it's not like a lot of people gets the opportunities in their life like it just a lot of people don't have the courage or they don't want to do more to do that like all of these has a lot of work behind like
Yeah.
even the braiding or like because I have a guilt a lot of times because I take time away from my family from my kid because when I do create those braids or styles or anything for like competitions I don't do them while I'm doing my clients. I take the time away from my family when I have supposed to be a day off or a Sunday. People are not jealous about like being me working all Sunday or taking an opportunity to work on a photo shoot or anything like that. And this everything has come with a price, but honestly, it's just I put myself away for years when she was little, and yeah, I do have the guilt, but I can see like she's proud of me. She's always saying out like my mommy is famous and I'm like
So
I'm
cute.
like, "I'm not." She said yes you are and I'm like that's like for me like she really like sees so that's something like she sees the hard work behind everything
Yeah.
and I always try to make it up. And I'm trying to find the balance. That's hard, but that's my
You could
goal
do
for
it.
actually year to find more of the balance to do like
Yeah.
even with her and for myself because now I'm like at the point like I try not to be there for everyone for 100% or 150 because
Yeah.
you can't. And I don't care about things like little things. I'm like, you know what? Things are gonna wait for me
Hmm.
everything has led me to kind of like learn to do a little better for me
Yeah.
or like you know what yeah the laundry can wait for you I can have just spend some time with her and go or like take her to the movie or go to the pool anything
Yeah.
so it's a
Oh,
learning journey as well.
yes. Agnes, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on the podcast. I
thank you
appreciate
so much for having me here.
Absolutely. I will talk to you later. For those who are listening, thank you so much. Make sure you go follow Agnes. Make sure you go vote for her and make her a star, a bigger star than she already is. So I will talk to you later, my dear friend, listener, and I will talk to you later.
Yes,
Bye.
thank you so much, Krystine. Thank
If you loved this episode, subscribe to the BeautyPro Podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave your reviews, stars, feedback so I can continue bringing the content you deserve and want most. Your feedback fuels this podcast. The more you give, the more you get back. You can follow me at The Beauty Pro Coach on Instagram and Facebook. Want to contact me directly? Email me at befree@goldentruthcoaching.com.